So I think I'm gonna simplify it like this too. I think when it comes to He Who Remains, I think um to end the war, which I don't really now. I'm gonna just gonna go off a theory. I'm gonna theorize that he didn't end the war. What he did was took himself out of it and kind of like barricaded himself. Maybe so. Like again with like the tree kind of explanation. So he would cut down his tree, his universe, right? And just make it linear, grow it to be linear. So it's just
Mm.
one timeline, right?
So removed
But then,
himself from, like, he removed his branch from the tree, basically.
yeah, he cut down all his trees. So, because if you think about it, like monkeys, squirrels, whatever, an animal that's gonna they jump from branch to branch. They don't jump from tree to tree. They jump from one branch and then they hop on to another. So, him cutting off all his branches, there is no access for them to get to that, universe.
Right.
So I think him doing that and then, warning Loki, if you kill me, I'm controlling this. If you kill me, all the branches are gonna spread and it's gonna kind of create, paths to the other universes, or at
That
least
have the
access,
Kangs,
not
yeah.
paths, but yeah, not paths, but like access to these other Kangs are gonna come in to these timelines and, destroy us.
Mm.
So I think that's the way I'm thinking about it, at least from like, kind of reading it from other people's perspective. I'm kind of seeing it now as like it's all these universes. These universes has their own branches, and He Who Remains kind of just controlled his universe, made one timeline, so that it's kind of like off the grid or untouchable to the other universes and the other Kangs.
This video is brought to you by CPR Ninjas. If you live in the Central Florida area, then this is a place for you to get CPR certified. At CPR Ninjas, their passion is to provide you with knowledge and skills needed to perform high quality CPR with accuracy and precision. Javon and Lysandra Washington have been working in the healthcare industry since the mid 1990s and share 35 plus years combined in healthcare.
Siobhan and Lysandra are both registered nurses with diverse backgrounds, which include home care, hospital care, acute care, wound care, hospice care, pediatrics, research, and higher learning education. Together, they share a passion to reach the community, provide education that will save lives, and improve quality of life. As American Health Association instructors, they also share the same vision with the AHA to building a healthier tomorrow.
If you want to get started on a course today, go ahead and email Javon at cprninjas.com. Or if you want to call, it's 813-603-6898. Now back to our video.
That's, I mean, yeah,
Uh,
that's just the way I'm understanding it, or like that's the way I could simplify it.
but the only reason that makes even more sense is because at a certain point he didn't know what was going on because
Mm,
he wasn't prepared for that situation to happen. All right.
right.
Because he knew, like you said, if we go with that theory and we say, okay, let's say the theory is fact and that's actually what happened, they probably agreed for him to do that if he kept his word on not interfering with what it is they had going on, right? So since now everybody in that universe and his universe is interfering for what the Council of Kings has going on, that's why it's a problem. Like, that's why everything is a big problem right now, because there probably is still a multiversal war going on. It's just the fact of, you know, he who remains, who had the sacred timeline, his sacred timeline, is now branching into their timelines. Now, like, he's a part of the problem. Now he's basically put the sacred timeline, not he, but the sacred timeline is basically in war by accident. So there is probably a multiversal war going on as of right now, even before the sacred timeline has now
Yeah.
clashed with them. It's just now the sacred timeline is a part of that multiversal war that's
Or
going on.
at least back in it. You know what I mean?
Or yeah, or at least back in the multiversal war. Because there just has to be a lot of explaining before we reach the King Dynasty. And I think that's gonna be Marvel's issue for, the King Dynasty movie to kind of fail, is if there's not enough explanation leading up to it. Because you gotta think, it's a antagonist with multiple different variants, so you have to explain as much as you can before that one big movie of all of them comes out. Multiversal shit is hard to make a very good simple story for people to follow.
I mean, it isn't if you use one term and one explanation, but you got these other terms like Earths and universe,
Incursion,
time.
timeline.
Yeah. So it's like, and pruning branches, incursions, stuff like that. It's like you're not really explaining it well when you have all these different terms. Um, but if that's the way they see it with like this tree of life being one universe and all these branches are branching off, I think that makes sense then. Um, but still, I mean, it's still something touchy. But like I said, it's not that hard as long as you have like kind of like one meaning for it. You explain it well, and then that's it. Because then
Right.
at that point, you could literally just do whatever the fuck you want as long as it's
It's
explained
you're able
well.
to follow, like, as far
Yeah,
as like the viewer, you're able to follow it. That's the only part that's confusing. I think that's why a lot of people have a lot of questions for how the story is going. Because you gotta think it's shows and movies. It's not like how like phase 1 through 3, or did Endgame end at 3 or 4? Endgame was 3, right?
or yeah,
It's not like phase 1 through 3 where it was movies, and they all were kind of like linear. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
like the movies were linear. Everything led up to something, right?
yeah.
Rather as technically the multiverse saga, there's these different branches where it's movie branched timeline is the show, movie branched timeline is a show,
Yeah.
where it has to
Um,
kind of like try and
and
interconnect in a way.
what's kind of like dumb too is that like they're doing all these shows and introducing new characters, but like they're not following, the main theme of it being a multiversal saga. It's like we haven't seen anything much from. I mean, we got like a Hawkeye show. I mean, obviously these are like to introduce the new characters that are going to be part of these new teams, the new Avengers and whatnot, whatever. But like, there's nothing that's indicating anything multiversal aside from some of WandaVision, all of Loki, um, a little bit of She-Hulk where she had like that episode where she kind of like broke the fourth wall and like went into like the real world per se. And
Yeah.
we're talking about all these different things going on, but
But also, that was the only reason that makes sense for it to be related to that is because Eric Voss came up with the most brilliant theory for it.
yeah.
It could still
So
also not even mean a damn thing towards it, just like
yeah,
most
but
of the
still,
other
yeah,
shows are.
that's what I'm getting at. Is like we haven't really seen anything. I mean, not even for Moon Knight or Miss Marvel. Um, all we know is that like she's was switching bodies with Carol at the end of the show of Miss Marvel, and then
Yeah,
obviously um,
it leads up into the Marvels.
right,
And then the
and then
Marvels is going to help us further explain the
yeah.
multiversal
I
type of
mean,
thing.
shit. Even like I mean, Black Panther was respectively made sense why they didn't include anything multiversal. Obviously, they were dealing with grief and whatnot.
Yeah,
So I
but
get
that's
it makes sense,
logical.
but I feel like if certain things didn't happen in the real world, RIP. If certain things didn't happen, then I feel like the story will probably then fit into multiversal things. But
Yeah.
then again, maybe it wouldn't have because, I mean, even Shang-Chi had nothing to do with anything multiversal.
And that had specifically to do with like the 10 rings and them
Yeah.
studying the 10 rings and how powerful it was. Which that's fine. That's fine because at the end of the day, that's Shang-Chi's like origin story movie, and he's a
Yeah.
brand new character. It's an origin story movie.
But even like the end credits explained absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it explained absolutely nothing, but it was just explaining the 10 rings. That's all it was. The why, what they are. They couldn't figure out what the fuck it was. But aside from that, it's like for Miss Marvel, for example, it made something like that to where it leads up to to where it leads up to a movie that what it is now. That's fine, all right, because the movie will help us lead into multiversal things going on. That's okay. If a show like Miss Marvel leads into the Marvels, which helps us further explain multiversal stuff happening, then that's what a show needs to do.
Yeah.
You know, just like how WandaVision led up into the multiverse of madness and helped us further explain how the multiverse or incursions work. Right? It gave us a purpose. Same thing with Loki. Explains so much about the timelines, explains the main antagonist to the best of its ability in only 12 episodes and combined, helps us lead into the King Dynasty.
Yeah, you know what we've been glossing over too is what if.
And fucking what if?
What if actually, I will
Helps.
say it does help out the multiverse story. At least I mean it's in a cartoon form, but they're technically MCU. It's just we're just seeing it as cartoon form. Um, but yeah, I mean that's Loki and What If I think are like the prime subjects of and Multiverse of Madness have been the prime subjects of multiverse saga. Uh, hopefully we see more of that in the Marvels. I'm not expecting to see
I'm not
uh
expecting to see something crazy, but I'm
no, yeah,
hoping to expect this something that helps push the main story of what's supposed to be going on.
right.
I'm hoping that they at least, and this is I'm talking least, put a stepping stone to what we're supposed to expect next in the main story, which is,
Right.
the Kang dynasty. At least put a baby step there, you know, because this other stuff it's kind of veering off track for a while. Let's be honest, before Loki season 2 was even like coming out, you honestly didn't know what the fuck was going on in the MCU.
Yeah.
The only way you could figure out what the fuck was going on in the MCU is because what Loki season 2 has finally come out.
Hmm.
Other than that, what was going on? Nothing. You
Yeah.
know.
And then the thing that sucks too is that like it's also just a show. So it's like if no one's watching the shows and only watching the movies, they're not gonna fucking understand shit about what's going on.
Yeah, if you
You know what I
drop
mean?
somebody off in Phase 4, like somebody who is like, "I'll give Marvel a shot," and you drop them off in Phase 4, they're just gonna be like, "All right, what's everything leading up to?" You know.
Not even that. They're probably not even gonna think that these movies are connected.
They're not gonna think the movies or shows are connected. Majority of the
Right.
shows, because like even the movies technically, you know, for Black Panther, it gets the pass because of certain
Or we're
situations.
also forgetting about No Way Home. No Way Home is also another prime suspect.
Another
Prime subject.
suspect.
Suspect. Prime suspect.
Right, that too. But Black Panther gets the pass because of an unfortunate event, right?
All right.
It still had nothing to do with what the main problem was. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, all right,
Forgot about that.
has nothing to do with what the main story was. It's just their send off movie. The
Pretty
OG
much.
cast is gone. All right, it's a great movie. Guardians of the Galaxy is a great movie, but it serves no purpose in the main story.
Yeah.
What was the only reason that movie came out is to just say this is James Gunn's last movie and this is all of their last movies together.
Yeah.
So it's like you can kind of almost watch, like, let's say when the Multiverse Saga is all said and done, you can watch a lot of, like, you can not watch a lot of the content that has came out for the Multiverse Saga. You really don't have to watch She-Hulk. You really don't have to watch Moon Knight. You really don't have to watch what else?
I mean, this all depends because supposedly we're seeing all these characters in the next Avengers movie, but
Right.
that's not for a while though. That's what sucks.
That's
Is
like
that
two years.
we're getting three phases in two Avengers movies, two team up movies, and we've got what for the first saga? We got three phases and four Avengers movies. We got one in each at the end of each phase.
And you got two in one
Well,
phase.
two in the last phase, which made sense because
Yeah.
it's a big story. So it's like they kind of like BS us with content, or at
Yeah.
least
They skipped on us.
with excitement and expectation. So like we're supposed to just watch what you give us and and not care about the quality of them and not care about the main story. You're just gonna say, "Hey, we're gonna do multiverse shit," and then just kind of like not really have a singular narrative about it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And you gotta think, like, with the big bad guy, which was Thanos, ending off on that, people are like fiending for more stories. And I think
right,
we got to put the blame on the people a little bit because it's, it's high supply and high demand that we're getting. Because we're
hmm
demanding a lot and we're getting a lot, but we're getting stuff that we don't need. So it's
like
kind of
to be
like you
fair,
got to blame Hollywood and you got to blame us a little bit.
right? Because to be fair, we don't need another Daredevil show. We don't need, you know,
You can
mostly
canonize him and then just slap him into a team up movie with Spider-Man.
right.
You can
I
easily
mean,
do that.
we want it, we just don't fucking need it.
Yeah, do we
So
don't
it's
need it.
like,
And it's not in let's be honest. When Echo comes out, when Daredevil comes out, I'm like 8.9% sure it has nothing to do with what's really going on, which is a multiversal war.
right.
They're just gonna get their shows. Daredevil's gonna get a show as like a, oh my god, he's back. Echo's gonna get her show because she's gonna be part of a new team later on. It's not
hmm
gonna matter to what it is that's going
I'm
on.
hoping the Thunderbolts at least leads into something too,
Hopefully, but we're not gonna get that for another
because
year and a
the
half.
shows and some of the movies like Black Widow lead into the Thunderbolts, but I mean that's the only other team up movie, and that's like a bunch of characters that not everybody really cares about besides Bucky.
And a lot of people
Uh,
don't really know if they're just casuals.
right, because we also haven't seen Ghost since Ant-Man 2,
No.
and she's in this movie, so it's like,
Yeah. And most people won't even know who that person is. They'll be like,
right,
who's this? A new character?
all right.